Without a doubt, two of the most prolific scorers in the Canadiens and the Lightning series so far have been Josh Anderson and Brandon Hagel. But what if I told you there are some notes that we can dive into that talk about how Hagel was almost a Canadian? And furthermore to that point, in regards to Josh Anderson, let's also dive into what more Canadiens need to be doing to follow in his stead. We've got comments from Marty St Louis, we've got the latest on Kirby Dach. Let's dive into it all on this off day for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, I say off day. They'll probably have a practice, they'll probably have some interviews, they'll probably do stuff, but the Canadiens don't actually play Game 3 until Friday. So there still is a little bit of a break for Montreal Canadiens fans heading into this series' third game. Speaking about the series in itself, I wanted to dive into this interesting fact posted by SportsGuy062196 on the RHabs subreddit. Interesting fact, this will be the first Habs Lightning series that doesn't have a team go up 3-0 after Game 3. In 2004, Tampa Bay went up 3-0. They ended up sweeping the Habs. In 2014, Montreal up 3-0 on Tampa Bay at that time. They swept Tampa. In 2015, the Lightning were up 3-0. They won in 6. And then in 2021, the Stanley Cup Finals, Tampa Bay was up 3-0. They won in 5. So it has been almost 20 years of lopsided quick ups where the team that inevitably won the series was up 3-0 to begin with. Now we finally have a series where it's closer than that, as Montreal-Tampa right now is 1-1. There are some memories that we can unlock from the 2014 and the 2015 Canadiens and Lightning seasons, but might I remind you, Tampa, they were an absolute powerhouse every single time they played off against Montreal. Obviously, in 2004, they ended up winning. Marty St Louis was a big part of that team, not to mention John Tortorella and some old chap named Vinny Lecavalier. In 2014, Montreal, yeah, they won, and they were probably destined for bigger and greater things, but, yeah, we're not going to get into why Montreal didn't accomplish more that season. In 2015, the Lightning advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals. They were technically a younger-ish team in that span, and they ended up losing to the Dynasty Blackhawks. Ben Bishop was in net, Steven Stamkos was still decently young, and Nikita Kucherov was new in the league too. And then in 2021, obviously the Lightning won the gosh darn thing. So there is a lot to like out of these different Tampa Bay Lightning teams throughout the past, but I think that 2004 team probably takes my heart because of what Marty St Louis was able to accomplish on the squad. I mean, just take a look at it. Point per game guy, he had 94 points in the regular season there. What a stud Marty St Louis was. Now, with that said, let's start talking about this current series that is being played. 1-1, Montreal lost game number 2. The only Habs player to score an even strength goal so far in these two playoff games is Josh Anderson, who has 2. This is a pretty big problem. Montreal, you can say, had the advantage over Tampa Bay in Game 1. The analytics would back that up. Elliot Friedman said that he thought that Tampa actually had a better even strength control of the game versus Montreal. But taking a look at all the goals scored by the Habs, Josh Anderson, 5-on-5, Slavkovsky power play, Slavkovsky power play, Slavkovsky power play. Now, we're not going to punish Juraj Slavkovsky for being productive and scoring on the power play, but when you look at what happened in Game 2, this is where you start to acknowledge that there might have been some improvements to be had. Lane Hutson scored on the power play at the end of the first, and then Josh Anderson got another even strength goal. So Power play production has been carrying the Montreal Canadiens so far, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but at some point you have to make adjustments. Oh, Lego, it's just 2 games. Why are you microanalyzing what's going on? Yeah, because it's just 2 games. You know how many games are in a series that goes max length? 7. There are adjustments that need to be made quickly in order for Montreal to battle back and get their best foot in the door to try to win this gosh darn thing. Captain Flynn, 24, said it's crazy how much Josh Anderson is in Tampa Bay's fans' heads, too. They think he is a rat and a coward for not obliging an AHL goon fight request. One of the most upvoted comments over there is leave Sabrin in the lineup for Game 3. Anderson will be looking over his shoulder all game. As if Anderson and Xhekaj haven't already beat the wheels off of that guy in the regular season. Another reply says, hard fact, the Montreal Canadiens are not yet the team they will be. A reply said, the Habs need more secondary scoring. They're too reliant on one line, the power play, and Josh Anderson. Oliver Kapanen used to provide that, second on the team in 5v5 goals with 19. He should be playing with Demidov still. They had undeniable chemistry even if he isn't the ideal 2C. Unfortunately, he is not at all comfortable in this rough setting. Scoring in the first half of the season is different from scoring in a more tight, borderline violent playoff series. You can see he doesn't want to handle the puck or make plays right now. Now, there are some disagreements to that as well, but hey, Oliver Kapanen, move him over with Demidov. Is that the move here? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Speaking about guys that we can talk about, let's talk about the guy that ended up deactivating his Instagram account after game number 2, Kirby Dach over here. Somebody who iced the puck, which led to the face-off win and the inevitable overtime winner. A guy who was blamed by Canadiens fans all over, and quite frankly, a guy who kind of deserved it. Like, he wasn't that good in game number 2. Still, does he deserve to get lambasted online on his personal Instagram from fans? No, I'm not going to say anybody deserves that. But the guy needs to improve. And Marty St Louis went out there and defended Dach in the media yesterday, holding a brief Zoom call with reporters, steadfast in defending Dach, knowing number 77 is getting a lot of flack for icing the puck in overtime last night, right before Tampa Bay scored. Top reply over here contradicts a lot of what we had been saying. I said in the video yesterday, put Gallagher in, man. Put Veleno in, man. Put somebody in for Kirby Dach. This guy's not providing what the Canadiens need right now. Top reply here says, ironically, I think the hate Dach is getting is the reason he is going to play on Friday. Marty is going to use this as a leadership and coaching moment. Interesting point, Jimmy V said. I would say that it raised the chances of Dach playing from close to 0 to something a lot higher. The coach will need to weigh all of the factors. There is an argument to be made for Veleno or Gallagher to get into the lineup. There is an argument perhaps to sit Texier and move Kapanen back up. Tough decisions. So I guess we will see later tomorrow when the actual lines get released whether or not Kirby Dach is going to suit up for the Montreal Canadiens in Game 3. Good guy, good coach. He has said before that he refuses to bully or demean his players as a method of coaching, and specifically mentioned that he had had coaches who used those tactics. Suzuki also addressed Dach's mistakes after that game last night, and straight up said he has had his fair share of plays like that. You just learn from it and move on. So, we will see whether or not Kirby ends up suiting up in tomorrow's game. But you know who is going to suit up in tomorrow's game? One of the best players for Tampa Bay so far in this series. It's Brandon Hagel, 27 years old out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, a guy that has been super valuable for Tampa Bay so far. Take a look at this post. Brandon Hagel at Montreal Canadiens training camp in 2018. Back in 2018, Brandon Hagel was just freshly drafted by the Buffalo Sabres. He didn't really do much in that organization, but went back over to the WHL for some more years and inevitably was able to head over to some other squads and their training camps. It's why, heading into his 102-point WHL campaign, he was at Montreal training camp as an invitee. Over the years, Hagel ended up becoming a relatively fine player with the Chicago Blackhawks before getting sent over to Tampa Bay and exploding out of the gate, scoring 90 points in 82 games last year at 26 years old. Make no mistake about it, Brandon Hagel is a great story for Tampa, and maybe there's an alternate reality where he stuck it out with Montreal. With that said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about all these Canadiens notes from Josh Anderson scoring the only even-strength goals so far, Marty St. Louis defending Kirby Dach, Brandon Hagel was almost a hab. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.